think you should.
So I'll be honest, in the beginning of the video, I'm really tired. I'm really exhausted. I guess I didn't sleep too well last night, so if you hear me yawn at any point in the video, I do apologize. But today we're going to be talking about Persona 5, and I wanted this video to be out earlier, yesterday, but unfortunately, because I had a friend over, I was busy. I couldn't really record because I don't like recording around people. I think it's both rude and makes me uncomfortable, so I didn't do it. And I was also just really exhausted because I only had a couple hours of sleep because I was awake all night. I fell asleep at around like 4 o'clock and woke up at like 9. Didn't have too much sleep, so I didn't get this video out yesterday, but I'm doing it today, and hopefully it comes out today. I'm recording this around 1 o'clock, so hopefully it comes about maybe in a couple hours, depending on how long this video renders. But we're talking about Persona 5. This is episode 5 of Persona 5, and the beginning of the episode starts off with Akechi, and he then hears about the rumors of the Phantom Thieves over in the school that Ren and the others go to. And then it does the little intro thing, and it's neat. It's always nice to go and look at every single time they do it, because sometimes they don't do it. Sometimes they never play an intro. It's interesting. And then what they do later on in the episode is they do similarly what they do in the video game, which they take the medal, which was the desired cognitive like thing that Kamoshida saw his crown as. So it's hard for me to explain it. I'm explaining it differently than I probably should. But basically, in the cognitive world of Kamoshida's palace, his medal was seen as his desired thing. So his desires showed his medal as it being worth as much as a crown, which is why he saw himself as a king inside of the school, which he saw as a castle, and his crown was his medal in real life. So they basically got like a whole entire, I guess, another copy of his medal, and they sold it. They sold it to the guy that they got like guns from, like fake guns. I forget what his name is. I don't really remember what his name is. Even when I played the game, I didn't really remember what his name was. I just went over there to go buy better weapons. Excuse me, I just went over there to buy better weapons whenever I needed to. I never really paid attention to his confidant level, and they actually do reference confidant levels and stuff with the doctor, the female doctor, whose name I forget as well. Morgana saying make friends of her, because then, you know, your confidant level will increase and you can get better benefits, which is the same thing in the video game, right? So they sell, Ren and Ryuji, they sell the cognitive desired crown, which turned into a medal, because that's what Kamoshida saw it as, or that's what his medal in the world, cognitive world, his palace looked like. Whatever. I'm making this a lot more confusing than it needs to be. They sold it, basically. They got a lot of money, and then there's like this super fancy place that sells a lot of, you know, highly expensive food and sweets and stuff. They go over there, and, you know, they celebrate, and they do the exact same thing in the video game, and it was enjoyable. But of course, you know, they are kind of wondering like what they did was right or not, because they still realize that, you know, like Kamoshida wasn't necessarily a bad guy, because he just kept on desperately trying to cling on to what his past was, because, you know, he had a gold medal. That means he was probably in some sort of Olympic sport, and he tried to cling on to his past as much as he could, which is why, you know, his desires came up into what they were in the metaverse. And, you know, that's why his crown existed in the palace, because he saw his medal as a crown. And of course they didn't think it would make sense keeping it, so they sold it, and it's kind of just whatever. They kind of brush it off, and it doesn't really, you know, mean anything anymore. They just decided to celebrate, and they know they did a good thing, and they did, because Kamoshida would have kept on with a whole bunch of his other bullshit, and it would have been bad. And so after they're basically done eating, Ren and Ryuji go to the bathroom, and then when they're ready to leave to go meet up with An, they meet Masaya Shishido, which, spoiler alert, is one of the last few bosses that you fight in the video game, and he's actually the guy who put Ren in the situation that he's in. He's the reason why Ren had gotten arrested and why he's, in Shibuya, and why he's going to this entirely different school, staying with what's his name? I forget. No, I almost said Futaba Sakura, but that's I guess his adopted child, I guess you can say. I forgot his name. I'm so sorry. This is usually doesn't always happen. I never really forget his character's name. His last name's Sakura, but I forgot what his fucking first name was. Shit. So anyways, Masaya Shishido, they meet him, but in the video game it was kind of weird. They did it differently. And when Ren, or in the game Akira, when he meets him, he kind of remembers like the whole scene of events that happened, like the night that he got arrested and stuff with the lady who was being assaulted by some guy or whatever. And in the anime, he didn't really seem to really remember him or really care about him whatsoever. As they're going back to meet up with An gets in trouble for some stupid reason that she didn't honestly fucking do. And it's basically then, after like a couple other scenes with Sai, which is Makoto's sister, you actually do meet Makoto in this episode. It's much later on, like towards like the middle of the episode, but you meet Makoto Nijima, who, spoilers, becomes a member of the Phantom Thieves, and Sai Nijima is her sister, who's like a detective of sorts. Not really, because she kind of sucks at her job, but it's then that Ryuji decides to come up with an idea that they decide to stick as being the Phantom Thieves. And, eventually they realize that anybody with a strong, distorted desire, that's the word I'm really looking for when it comes to things, so I'm going to have to remember that. But anybody with a strong, distorted desire eventually gets a palace of their own. And later on in the same episode, we actually go to Mementos, and Morgana explains that Mementos is it's everybody's palace essentially. It's kind of like the social space for everybody's palace, but their desires, just distorted desires, aren't strong enough for their own palace, like Kamoshida or Madarame, who actually is name dropped in this episode. And spoilers again, he's the next main bad guy that the Phantom Thieves are gonna have to go after. So, Mementos is basically just a whole like social space, like I said, with everybody who has really distorted desires, and they actually go there because I forget the character's name again. There's a lot of character names I have to remember off the top of my head, so forgive me if I honestly forget a couple of characters' names. But so someone created a website for the Phantom Thieves, and people were allowed to then go ahead and leave requests. And one of the requests was some girl had a stalkerish ex-boyfriend, and he won't leave her alone, right? So therefore he had a shadow in Mementos, and it was distorted with his own desires, and the Phantom Thieves went over there and had a change of heart, and that's what happened. And then towards the end of the episode, they get thanks from the website, and the creator, I forget his name. I'm so sorry, but he's kind of like one of the main kids that was like assaulted, and from the school with Kamoshida. I'm gonna put text on the screen if I remember, but I'm gonna look up. Yeah, it's Mishima. Yeah, Mishima was the person who created the website, and therefore, created the Phantom Thieves website, so that way the Phantom Thieves can go in Mementos, clear, people's requests for said thing, because, people have distorted desires. And back to the point of the whole thing, Ryuji basically just decides that they're gonna go after a whole bunch of, big bad guys who are fucking selfish shitheads. That's what he says in the episode, and have them have a change of heart to people like Kamoshida. And, An was kind of like indifferent about it. Morgana actually wanted to do it, and Ryuji, of course, is the one who decided on doing it. And then Ren says, if we all do it together, then why not? And An basically just then agrees with him, and the episode continues on there. and it's then they decide on an official name for their group, and it's called the Phantoms. The Phantoms, who are part of the Phantom Thieves. I know, original name, but whatever. So the next scene after that, when they agree to stick with, being the Phantom Thieves and being a part of the team, the Phantoms, Mishima then confronts Ren, and he's like, "I created the website. You can deal with more evil adults outside of Kamoshida." And Ren's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And then Mishima's like, "Oh yeah, I totally didn't know. Whatever, right?" It's almost like he knows. That was the weird part about the game too. Like it almost seemed like he knew, but he like didn't know, because Ren was always, or the main character, the protagonist that you play as in the video game, was always like, "No, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about." Right? That's whatever. So the episode continues on. Makoto, we meet her in the episode. She basically is told by the principal that she needs to go spy on students because the fucking principal piece of shit wants to figure out. I probably shouldn't say that because spoiler reasons, but he wants to spy on the others. He wants Makoto to spy on the other students to figure out who the Phantom Thieves are, why they're doing what they're doing, yada yada. And then it's when Ryuji brings up the whole like request thing in the comments that the website's getting. And then they go to Mementos, and then Morgana explains what Mementos is. They go and do their first request. They figure out Morgana could turn into a fucking cat, and it's kind of hilarious because for it was one shot and one scene where Morgana had like weird animated CGI or anime CGI, and it looked off. And that was the same thing that happened with Kamoshida when he was like a big shadow kind of like monster. I don't know. It's kind of weird. And sometimes they use like CGI for some stuff, and it's not that it's weird. It's just that I'm not used to seeing it. Someone's at my front door. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. That was my dad. He was at the front door, and he doesn't have a key to open the door, so I apologize to that. And I was talking about not really seeing anime CGI like ever. It's the stuff that I've seen, I like anime and I like watching anime, but I haven't watched like a whole like bunch of it. Just stuff that I have like seen a couple episodes of and really enjoyed, like Naruto or Dragon Ball. And I haven't really seen any anime that would have CGI in it whenever necessary. So seeing Persona 5 using some form of CGI just looks off to me, but it doesn't really matter. So remember what I said earlier in the video, that Madarame, the next like big palace motherfucker, he was name dropped. Yeah, he gets name dropped by the guy who they take the first request from, the stalker ex-boyfriend motherfucker, right? So they change his heart, and then they get whatever his distorted treasure was, right? It's kind of whatever. So, and then Morgana explains that in the same episode, he doesn't really remember who he is or where he came from, and that's the whole like mystery and backstory with Morgana. He doesn't really know who he is, why he's in this form, because he truly believes that he's human, kind of like Ren, An, and Ryuji, but he's in like this cat-like form, even though he doesn't say he's a cat. It's explained much later on in the series and much later on in the video game, but there's a reason why he is who he is and what he is, but right now he currently thinks that he's something else, and he couldn't get far into Mementos because, spoilers, Mementos is fucking huge, and it plays a much bigger part in the story much later on. But it's such a big place, and there was a place that there was a door that he couldn't get through, and it wasn't able to get open until the first palace, which is Kamoshida's, was officially destroyed, and then it opened the door. Sorry if the mic got away from my mic. I was adjusting something. I'm wearing like a headset, and it's connected to a microphone, so I apologize for that. So, anyways, he thinks he's in this form and whatever, and then they start planning out some stuff, that what the Phantom Thieves and what they need to do. One of the rules is, all members have to agree on a plan before carrying it out. And, that's typical of every other team, so I don't understand why this is mentioned, but it makes sense at the end of the day. So there's another role that I don't really care talking about because there's really nothing else to it. So Ren, he goes back to LeBlanc, and that's where he actually meets Goro Akechi. Goro Akechi will again play a bigger part in the story much later on, but right now they're kind of like the members of the Phantom Thieves, the main characters, are still wary on his presence because he's infamously known as like a high school student, but he's still working on like big jobs for like high working detectives like Sai Nijima, right? Who's Makoto's sister. Remember that. And he's like this kid detective, and he's famous for so many reasons. But Ryuji points out that he's not really sharp enough to be a detective, meaning maybe he's not smart enough to be a detective. And then the episode after the credits ends off with the new character who will join the Phantom Thieves. Spoilers. He shows up. On the whole time was explaining, I feel like someone's following me, and they didn't really get that. So Ryuji and Ren, they plan out to kind of confront this guy by setting out like a trap, and they revealed the face of the guy that was following on, and it's Yusuke. I forget what his last name is, but his first name is Yusuke, and he'll become a bigger part of this next arc with Madarame much later on. But spoilers, he does join the Phantom Thieves, and he'll obviously be a bigger part of the team later on in the series. But it's kind of whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the video here. I've been rambling on long enough. My throat hurts. I haven't really drinking anything yet, like some water. So I'm gonna go drink some water. I'm gonna maybe take a nap because I'm really tired. Probably not, but it's whatever. So anyways, I'm gonna wrap up the video here. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like, and if you already did the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button for more videos just like this. I apologize for the video kind of being all over the place. My mind is all over the place because I'm dealing with real life family problems that I don't really want to get into this video currently. Maybe a different time. Maybe I'll talk about it. Probably not, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. So anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day. I'm out. Peace.